All right, good morning, everyone. Today's video, we're going to go way back. I mean, way back to 2010. 2010, when I was just starting out, probably only had about maybe 5 years of catalog photography under my belt. I'd been working with a number of different local designers, even way back then, some web designers, things like that, but mostly fashion designers. And I was doing a lot of their catalog work, helping them put together, images that they would use for their flyers, for their catalogs, and for their websites, even way back then, before it was even really popular to have a website back in the day. But look at us now. So let's take a look at some of these images. So we're going to jump right here into Capture One. Now, of course, back in the day, I wasn't using Capture One. We're talking 2010, 2009, something like that. We were using Photoshop and some version of Lightroom, most likely. But I opened these images here in Capture One just because this is my choice for culling and doing a lot of my post work before I take things into Photoshop. So on this specific shoot, not only were we working with a local designer, we'd also teamed up with a new makeup artist, and we basically put together a little team for this shoot, so that everybody could use these same images, to promote their different services. So the model that we were using here, we wanted to really emphasize the makeup for the first shots. So what we focused on was the jeweling, the clean look, a very, very clean look. And one of the things that was new to us in the studio at that time that, we've been using ever since is airbrush makeup. The ability to be able to use these little air guns and apply makeup to your models, or even have the models apply the makeup to themselves, once they learn the basic skill set, it's a powerful tool. And if you see here, and you're looking at this specific model, Jamie, you can see, the foundation, you can see the lipstick, you can see different applications of makeup. But almost all of this makeup was done with airbrush. Even this. The makeup artist would use a stencil, which she would place over the eye, and then she would, spray this area in. Now, she may still go over with a brush, and, to add some detail work, like around the eyelids here. I'm pretty sure she used the normal, makeup, tools like a mascara pen or something like that. Now, these little jewels that you see on her face, these were all just basically stuck on just so we'd have some kind of depth. Now, one of the problems that I mentioned before in previous videos is that when you're lighting, you have to always take this type of stuff into consideration, because these are basically just little mirrors. If we zoom in really close here, I don't know how well this is going to translate to YouTube, but these are basically just little stick-on mirrors that we use for this. And you can see a better example of it here, maybe from this angle. But yeah, these are just little mirrors that we wanted to help emphasize, give it a more modern look. You also got to remember this was 2010. So let's go through these really quick. When working with the model, depending on the model that you're working with, it's very important as a photographer to emphasize to the model what it is you're trying to capture and how much you expect from the model, meaning, they're posing, what is the key components that you're trying to capture. So like if it's the outfit, if it's the makeup, then we don't really want a lot of movement. We want it to be very, very simple so that we can show and capture just that, the depth in the eyes, the eyebrows, anywhere makeup was applied, things like that. And then, let's see, I think back then I was using Alien B lights, and they have a tendency to be extremely warm. I think they're somewhere around a 3,500 range, Kelvin range. I couldn't wait, until I first advanced to pro photos, because I thought that was like the best thing in the world. And over time, I've realized that they are good lights. I will never ever say that pro photos are not great lights. They are, but for the most part, when I go out on a shoot these days, I'm usually using a Godox light, and I still have all of my pro photo equipment, but I just like the flexibility of the battery powered Godox. And I know there are battery powered pro photos, but they are extremely expensive. So guys, if you're starting out and you're looking for the versatility of a light, whether it's the AD600, AD200s, now there's an AD400, I think. There's a number of different new Godox lights. And with the modifiers that are available to them and the mounting systems, you can get a lot of the same looks and color that you would get from some of the more expensive lights. I mean, you're not going to get Broncolor, color and quality. You're not going to get Pro Photo quality. It's going to be close enough. So the key is, again, learning to meter your light, making sure that you know exactly what it is you're trying to capture. And even when you look in her eyes here, you can see multiple catch lights. In this specific shoot, I was using, I think, 5 lights. So I had, 2 lights off to the side of her that were going to be more fill, and I had a main light that was directly in front of her, and then I still had 2 additional lights behind her that was kind of separating her from this background. And you can kind of see that a little bit in the hair. You can see the hair light because there's glitter in her hair, and you can see the source reflecting where the light is coming from. So, and let's see, if we zoom in here, you can almost see one of the main lights, which was a really, really large umbrella. See that there? All right, so let's go down and take a look at a few more. And if we zoom in here, you can really start to see where the lights were placed. So you can see the main light here, which you can even see the grid that was on the light reflected in her eyes. So that's pretty good. And I mean, this was a Nikon. I don't remember which Nikon. I think this is probably the D700, because I don't believe I had the D750 at this time. So, it doesn't really matter as much from my perspective which camera you're using. It's all about learning your gear and, learning what the gear's limitations are and learning to use it to your advantage. That's the key. So even with this simple light setup here, we're able to jump from what was more makeup focused over to what was going to become more catalog focused. So let's scroll down here a bit. A lot of photos. Where is it? Okay. So here's about when we started capturing for the catalog itself. So one of the first things we needed was going to be, an upper shot of this jumper from the designer. So let's see. Here we go. So starting off, we had a few images. The model was, I guess she was getting bored, so she's starting to move around a lot. But the key is, as long as you can get the shots, you can always go back in and crop just the parts you need and then show the full length or whatever it is, the item that you're trying to show. Now, when you're shooting fashion, trust me, guys, it is all about the fashion. It has very little to do with the model. I mean, obviously you want to use a model, for your shots, and like here, you can still see the, beauty of the makeup, the quality of the hairstyle that was done. But more importantly here is going to be the fashion itself. And even as clean as these images are, and even if you get down here to the floor and you can start to see, you don't see a lot of footprints on the floor because, way back then I was very adamant about the girls not wearing their shoes onto any place other than on the paper itself. So usually off to the side would be like a little chair and a rug where they could remove their shoes if they had to. We'd always clean their shoes, the bottom of their shoes, before they would walk back out onto the paper. And that's just to make my job that much easier. So it was just one less thing I had to worry about cleaning up, was all the multiple footprints that would probably be down there on the floor. But, the key to this, like I said, is, you're going to want to get, a variety of different shots, from different angles, depending on what the client's looking for. And, today our advantages is that we can shoot tethered, And you could have the designer right there with you looking at these shots, and they can then decide, exactly what it is they're looking for. And then there may be some little small things that you may need to take into Photoshop to adjust and fix. But for the most part, if you are working with your client, your makeup person is still there during the shoot. You want to budget for that. You want a client to budget for the fact that the makeup artist needs to be there for the most part for the majority of the shoot if this is a professional commercial campaign, as well as someone who is very, very familiar with the pieces that are going to be captured. So, they're looking at these images coming across on another monitor or going to an iPad or something like that, and they can see any inconsistencies in the piece, things that need to be adjusted. As an example, one thing you guys may not know, underneath this jumper, we have double-sided tape in a number of different places to help contour this piece onto her body so that it doesn't move, as she's moving around, to help keep the piece in place. Let me show you. I don't think I have any one of these images that would really show that off because you're not going to be able to see the tape, obviously. But if you zoom in here, you see where you see the wrinkles are starting to accumulate here. That's because she's applying pressure to that point. So, what we want to try and maintain is to keep the fabric as consistent as possible. Now, of course, in some cases you're going to have to go in Photoshop and you have to remove these wrinkles. You can do a little dodging and burning if you have to, but the key is to try and capture these images as clean as possible, because you will encounter some clients that literally need those images the same day, and they want them, in a TIFF format or whatever format they're looking for, and they want to leave the studio with those images. So, the key is making sure you can, plan out your shoot. And this is where, these lighting diagrams come in so handy, because you're able to plan your shoot, get your lighting set up, and know exactly what your client is looking for. The models know exactly what they're going to be doing. Even if, to the degree, if it was a model, we had a couple of shoots where models were picked, the day before, and there was no time to go over exactly what was going to be done. So I would just walk into the makeup area, and I would bring in a tablet and I would say, okay, here's an illustration of exactly what we're going to be doing. This is where you're going to be. And then obviously, once they get into the studio area, the shoot area, I'm going to explain it again, but at least I want to put that in their mind. This is what we're looking for, and the pacing as well. I'm not looking for, really, super fast posing. We've got some basic poses that we want to go with. Show them some examples of that, maybe some other images from different magazines that are similar to what you're trying to capture. And that's pretty much it. You can get the job done relatively easy. So, like I said, guys, the most important thing you can do is planning and communication with your team, because without your team's levels of communicating with each other, it's just a formula for failure. So I say strive for success, and the key to that is going to be planning. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. And if you know another photographer that may be interested in print photography or any of the other subjects that I may cover on these videos, share these videos with them. Help me get this information out there so that we as a community can grow and thrive. And especially with what many of us have encountered during 2020, this is a perfect opportunity to hone your skills and expand your knowledge so that you can, keep doing what you love. All right, guys, stay safe. It's been your boy Rome. I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.